Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneur grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to the well-being. And I am delighted to be joined with my co-host, Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Stephen, and welcome, everyone. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and a communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. Welcome to today's episode. Today, we're really going to be talking about passion, the focus of our businesses, and the problem or challenge that you aim to address through what you're creating in your business. Now, I know that passion is what often gets many people into entrepreneurship. And these days, let's keep it real, some people are just burnt out from the corporate grind, and they combine that with something they actually care about, and that sets them off on the trajectory of entrepreneurship. But passion and caring about something doesn't always tell you what your business idea should focus on. It tells you that you care about something, that you're interested in it, that it might be a thing, but it might also not translate into something that's viable and profitable. And so, it's so important to really not only hold our passions, but also hold what is actually needed. What do people want? What is going to solve an actual problem that people are experiencing or a desire that people want? I'll also add into that. And it's something that people are willing to pay for. It makes me think about a couple of examples that Steve and I have both experienced through our work in Do Get X. So I'm also curious to hear from you, Stephen, from your perspective. But think about the first example of someone who participated in one of our programs early on and really wanted to create a space that builds community and provides practices to unlock people's untapped creativity. It was really arts focused, community focused, creativity focused, but it turned into just a passion project, and not even side hustle. I would say a passion project that gave this person life and also met a need in the community, but it was not something people were willing to pay for. And then I contrast that with another person who participated in one of our programs, whose business focuses on supporting and employing women survivors of domestic violence and abuse. This was something that they were passionate about because it was a story that was so closely bound to their journey, but it also translated to what they saw in the community. Then there was something there. She developed an MVS, or a minimum viable solution, to test, and people were interested in supporting it. And it's now turned into a profitable business. And she's since launched a second social venture. So even, given those two examples, what might you say from your perspective around, passion, problem, profitable businesses for entrepreneurs who are listening in?
Yeah, I think, it's always good when you can find the intersection between your passion and a problem. And, I think, the litmus test is, are you bringing a solution to a problem, or are you actually, discovering a problem that then you can come up with a solution from? And I think that's really the challenge or the opportunity here in this particular work, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of passion, but as you all know, our passions are diverse, and so there's things that we can be passionate about for a season, and then we drop it for another passion. And so I think really trying to hone in what problem you're trying to solve, and then to ask yourself the question, so why do I care about this problem? What if in my story ties into this particular problem? Again, find the intersection between your passion and problem, I think, is the real sweet spot when you think about building businesses for good. So, one other thing that I would offer is that, when you look at the data, startup research firm CB Insights, they've been tracking this notion of, passion and versus problem for a long time. And, they've tracked this for years. And what they've discovered is that 43% of startups fail because there is no market need for what they're building. 43%. So that's almost 50% of those who are engaged in startups are building businesses that, there isn't really a market for. There isn't a demand for what people are actually offering. And this same study followed 431 companies that shut down after raising, get this, a combined $17.5 billion. $17.5 billion. 431 companies that actually shut down. So they had the money, but what they didn't have was evidence that anyone actually wanted what they were building or cared about what it is that they were offering. And that, again, I think echoes your point, Kimberly, about this whole idea about how do you actually build businesses around a real need that actually creates and scales demand for it over time versus something that, you're passionate about. I think these data points actually speak to why that's important.
Yeah. And I would also say too, I was thinking a lot of people just go ahead and dive in with developing something from an idea, but it is beneficial to validate that idea before you build something large scale to save you time, money, and energy. I mean, that's a lot of money that was in that data point. That's a lot of money. And what it also makes me think about was that when those businesses started, maybe they did validate that they were addressing a problem at the time. But it's also important to continue that even after you build something and it's proven to work, because the market shifts, the demand shifts, you adjust. I mean, we saw that during the pandemic. We see that in the economic climate that we're in now. You have to adjust. And so looking at what you're addressing through your business is not just a one-time thing. It's ongoing, but it's especially important before you do anything and you really give your energy in these various forms to your business. And I'll also say too, being close to a problem or a challenge that you see, yes, that gives you access and certain insight, especially if it's your own personal story, but it does not always give you kind of insight of everyone's or a large majority of the people experiencing that problem, their stories. And so, you may grow up around something, witness every day, see how people are affected by it, but still not create a profitable business off of it or even fully understand it. So, it's just your own story is so important. And it's important to remember that it's not the whole story.
Yeah. So how do you move from your proximity to the problem or passion about a problem to a deeper understanding of what can truly create a business that will meet people's needs and generate revenue? Well, the first thing is simply to just get curious. So part of that is looking at the research data that supports that the problem exists and that this is a problem that may be systemic or a problem that really is an annoyance. I think Catherine Finney talks about this. It's something that really annoys people. And then I think, the second thing would be is to actually talk to people. And in your effort to talk to them, what's important is to determine what people will lose or fail to have access to, or to this particular, to a solution, or should this problem not be addressed or solved? Like, what will people lose if this problem is not addressed or solved? And this indicates the potential impact for you and the business that you might want to build and the scale that you can have around this particular problem. So here's a couple of questions I want to offer. They come from some of Catherine Finney's work when she talks about, kind of problem solving for the kind of business that you want to create. But the first question is this a problem that for everyone, or is it just for me? The second question is, how is it currently being solved? How is this problem currently being addressed? What do people do as a workaround, as a quick fix, or as a temporary solution? And do people actually pay for this way of working around, fixing, or temporary solution? So the third question is, how often do people pay for the solution? So when you think about your business, do you want it to be seasonally? Do you want it to be annually? You want it supposed to be person daily? So how do you think about the problem that can be addressed? And then how often people actually pay for solutions towards that end? But these are kind of three kind of simple questions that I think that you could be exploring with potential customers as you explore the problem that you want to solve, as well as the data points. And then I think what's important is to think about your own story, and your passion is important. So moving into curiosity is not about stopping at your experience alone, ensuring that, there's enough people facing the problem to actually create a business that lasts. But it's really kind of thinking about, hey, what is my connection to this problem? Why do I actually care about it? And what's, like that then becomes your motivation. And that may even become a hidden passion about why this problem is really important towards addressing, and realizing that it's not just a problem that has impacted you or ties to your story, but it connects to a lot of people's stories. So those are just a couple of things you can think about.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Stephen, that you shared that. This also just as a practical example, because it can be very helpful to kind of see this more in practice versus talking about these concepts more abstract or at a high level. But it makes me think about Heber Brown, and we have an episode with Heber that we can put in the show notes for you to refer back to. But in our conversation with Heber Brown, who is a pastor and the founder of Black Church Food Security Network, there was a specific cause he was focused on, a specific problem, which was the food apartheid patterns among his own church members previously in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was a real frustration with the local market. So it was something he personally experienced, but he also noticed that the congregants were experiencing this as well. So he really paid attention. He was their pastor, but he moved beyond that to really understanding more about the knowledge, the insights, the pain points, the frustrations of the community members within the congregation. And these are people who understood the history of this space, have experienced food apartheid for quite some time. And so between Heber's own personal experience and with those within his community, that really led them to together really test out their knowledge and come up with the solution by growing and creating a garden and growing over 1,200 pounds of food for the community in its first year. And that became the starting point of what is now the Black Church Food Security Network. So he didn't just build a solution out of his own assumptions of what the congregation needed or what the community needed. He built it by observing, asking questions, testing. And now it has grown beyond just that congregation to others who are experiencing food apartheid, or what he says, what he has previously said, they're food mirages. Food's there, but it's not affordable. The access to healthy food is present in these communities, these Black communities, but it's not affordable. And so that just, building off of what you shared, Stephen, yes, is that passion to this problem or challenge ourselves, but also this kind of connection to others who are experiencing it, and then allowing that to really seed a solution that truly addresses the issue and that could create a profitable, sustainable business.
Yeah, I mean, Heber's story is a beautiful story. I think, of someone who really had ingenuity to kind of say, oh man, here's this problem. How do we take advantage of it? And really created this, just wonderful businesses doing really good work in the world. So what we want to do is bring you to a practical next step to kind of ground your own business around the clarity around the need that it's trying to solve. So I'm going to give you a statement that I want you to kind of complete, filling in the blank. So complete this statement as succinctly and clearly as possible. The problem that I want to solve is fill in the blank. And then the customer that I want to serve needs or desires, fill in the blank, because fill in the blank. So take this statement and work with it in terms of your business. And then afterwards, I want you to take this statement to at least 5 people who are closer to the problem than you are, and ask them if it's true, and listen to their feedback. Then, while you are ultimately wanting to hear from as many more people through a customer discovery process, this becomes the beginning of your validation. And this is important because, this becomes the difference between you, the founder who builds on evidence, versus you, the founder who builds on, hey, I think I got a great idea.
Yeah, I think that those two statements, one, it allows us to clearly name the problem that we're addressing, and then it also makes clear in our minds, or what our intention is, what the problem is that we are addressing for that particular customer. What is it that they actually need in this moment? And why do they actually need it? Taking it to people is going to, either confirm or affirm what it is that you believe, or it's going to tell you something differently. Either way, it's not a failure. It's really a success, because that can guide you into what you do next. So I would just say, in general, our passions can turn into profitable businesses, but it's not always going to turn into a profitable business. What's important is also to look at the problem and the people that are experiencing that problem, and if they're going to pay. I'm saying a lot of P words. Because people who pay, problem, combined with your passion.
That's right. People pay for problems.
Yes. So, that these are the pieces to really pay attention to, especially before you even start a business and really put in that work. So I just hope that this episode has just given you some questions to consider, a practical next step you can take to really start off in a stronger way toward the business that you hope to create. And if you've been in the entrepreneurship game for a while and you decide to listen through this episode, but the problem that you had starting at the at the beginning of your journey, it may have shifted a little bit, and you need to refine it in order to explain it a little bit more clearly. If you are ready to have a space to gain some clarity alongside real support for you, a community, a space of connecting to yourself, and even building upon the foundation of your business to explore storytelling, sales, and marketing systems, we have our Do Good X Mastermind retreat coming up this October in Atlanta. And right now, our applications are open, and we want you to check it out. You can go to dogoodx.org/mastermind retreat, and we'll also include that link in our show notes. We hope that you join us there. And if not, at least join us again on another podcast episode. And until then, be well and do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.